Hey, I'm Double J Jeff Jarrett, and you're watching. Jesus, long day. Here we go. Hey, I'm Double J Jeff Jarrett, WWE Hall of Famer, and you're watching the Inside the Ropes YouTube channel. Please like, subscribe, and share. Now choke on that, slap nut.
And we're back here on Inside the Ropes, and I'm joined by basically my new best friend, Jeff Jarrett. Hi, Jeff.
Hi, Rick. Good to see you. What are you laughing at?
You just take such great delight in that being my
I
nickname
say
now.
that affectionately.
Yeah, okay. So anyway, I'm not going to do it.
Hi, Kenny. How are you doing? You want to start over?
No, it's fine. We'll just keep it in. It's good to see you again. Last weekend you were all in Chicago.
First lie you were. Good to see you again.
It's okay. You were at all in.
Is this a YouTube show? I'm not going to let you get started. We're just going to keep
Just keep doing this. 10 minutes of it.
Exactly. No.
You're at all in Chicago. You're there for StarCast, and it ends up that you go from doing autographs to doing the TNA thing, and then you're in Nick Aldis' squad, we'll call it, for the match. What was that experience like for you at All In, and where do you see it going now? What does it mean for the wrestling business, do you think?
The entire weekend? You know, it's hard to sort of put it in words into a concise answer, because to me it's a culmination of things, and it's where the business is headed. But you know, the biggest thing to me it's that All In was a show with multiple stars from multiple promotions. We're sitting here doing a YouTube show. StarCast was the convention built around All In, and it was incredibly, wildly successful. FITE broadcasted. I was a part of bringing that, which I'm incredibly lucky, honored, grateful. It's really cool. Where it goes from here, you know, I think it's just the evolution of the business. I think social media, at TNA, we were early adopters of YouTube, and that channel started growing way back when. But, you know, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, just all of society. You know, I've got kids, they don't watch television anymore. They watch YouTube. They don't buy music, listen to radio stations. It's all streaming. So the whole world, as far as entertainment goes, Netflix, Hulu, all that kind of stuff, that's where the content is. And now the wrestling world, with FITE, with other avenues, with social media, with Inside the Ropes, doing a YouTube show, that's where it's headed. So that may be the sort of the macro answer. The streaming world has connected the wrestling world like never before, and I can just see that getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Talk about the atmosphere of the Cody and Nick Aldis match, like because it felt like a huge title change, which you don't really see that often anymore. Yeah.
I mean, walking to the ring, and you know, when Nick texted me and said, "Hey man, got an idea here," with that, you know, like you just said, I started out. Conrad, my buddy, called me, "Hey, will you come sign autographs?" Then, "Hey, will you host a TNA panel? You won't do a podcast, will you do a panel?" Yeah. Then FITE got on board, and during that whole time, Nick texted me and said, "Hey, we're putting together sort of cornermen." And when he asked me, I'm like, wow. It's sort of, you know, because 2010, 2011, when we went to India, Nick was my guy. Global Force, Nick was my guy. And now he was asking me to, you know, walk him to the ring. And then, you know, as we walked on stage at All In, 10,000, 12,000 people, sellout crowd, you could feel the electricity just going to the ring. You know, they were chanting Cody's name before the bell even rang. The electricity, you know, being a part of that, that's, as a performer, that's what you want to do. You want to be in a money match that the people paid to see, that the anticipation was built, the storyline was there, everything that goes into it. That, as a wrestler performer, that's what you aspire to do. And those guys, they definitely had the stage for them. And like you said, it was one of those title changes that you go, oh wow, that's the night the title switched. You can go back on Halloween Havocs or WrestleManias or Bound for Glories, the big shows when, wow, a big money match comes through and a title changes hands. That was one of them.
And obviously with the NWA 70th anniversary show coming up, it's going back to the Asylum. The name Asylum, I'm not going to go into that, but the idea that you guys started in the Asylum with NWA TNA back in 2002, can you talk a little bit about that first night, doing the show there in the Asylum, the first one that you guys did, and what your memories are of?
You know, that building, I have to go before that because I had that flood of emotions because my grandmother, Tennessee State Fairgrounds in Nashville, huge fairground, there's a racetrack, there's all kind of fairground buildings. But the original quote-unquote wrestling building was called the Women's Pavilion Building. It was just a rec hall. It burned down. And so when it burned down, my grandmother was a part of having the new building, the sports arena built. So my grandmother was one of the first promoters in there and on the backside of things helped get things done. And then, you know, you fast forward to 2002 and my father ran there. You know, Andy Kaufman wrestled there, Jerry Lawler, the Fabs, Ric Flair. I mean, you could go, there's a who's who list that wrestled in that building in the late 70s all through the 80s, and I think our last show as a family promotion was the mid 90s. So then fast forward to 2002, a pay-per-view only organization. We had to find a home and find it quick because of the financial side of things. So that building was holding wrestling maybe, you know, once every 6 weeks, or maybe not even that often, every couple of months. And we go to the people that we had worked with for years and say, hey, we need to use the building. Well, how often? Every Wednesday. So real quick, I mean, we literally, the walls were white. So we made it, we turned it into a studio that seated, you know, 2,000 people literally in less than 7 days when we moved in there. Now we tweaked it, but anyway, so that was the early days of 2002, the early days of NWA TNA, and we were there. And I look back on those times. Obviously, hindsight's 20/20 and real clear, but you know, Southwest Airlines was in 2002 not what they are today, but very cheap airline tickets. So that and the Asylum, as far as the bottom line of TNA, were drastically affected by having a studio that was very, very cost minimal, and Southwest Airlines. Those are two of sort of the unknown. So how did y'all stay in business? Well, you know, we had a great financial partner, but the bills were low. So to do that in 2002, we had, I think, 104 Asylum episodes. We were out of there, went to Orlando, and then now here we are in 2018, after the year that you know, the Hall of Fame and me partnering with FITE and the spoken word tour with my host was a complete moron. Oh no, my bad. That's a slip. But anyway, I love you, Kitty. But anyway, but let's get back on point.
Well, no, I was going to say, favourite memories of that first night though, that first show that you guys do at the Asylum. You've done all that work to put it together, and you know, you've taken together. I mean, is there a particular memory where you kind of got to think, this is good?
Maybe not the first night, but I know every Wednesday how we were building it. The match that I had against Raven, that was built, and they were lined up starting at 3 or 4 in the afternoon. AJ Styles, in my opinion, that's the building that he really came into his own, because you know, he just blossomed and continued to get better and continued to get better. Bobby Roode, I remember the first time I met him in the back of that building. He was like, how are you not signed? I could not believe that he wasn't signed. To me, he was pretty polished when we got him. But no, to me, those memories of the Asylum days, the weekly pay-per-views, the go position and the production and how we made that arena look. And I remember many times people would come in there after we got rolling and they'd look around and they'd go, this is really the Asylum? It really isn't. I mean, you know, it's a fairgrounds arena, but we made it look much bigger than it was on TV, the production shots, the quality. So any one memory from the first show, I just was glad that it made air, and it looked the way it did. But you know, over the weeks and months that we were there, the AJ matches, the Raven storyline, man, there were some great nights in there. I tell you what, if there's one memory that people ask me about, it's the night we debuted Jeff Hardy. That's the loudest I've ever heard that building. The people were shocked, and they literally stood on their feet for a good 5 to 7 minutes. Go back and watch it on tape. A thunderous applause. They could not believe Hardy was in the house.
So what made you guys decide to leave the Asylum? When did it all come around? Because obviously, as we're building towards a return to the Asylum for you, what made you guys decide to leave, and was that a hard decision to go?
It was a tough decision to go, just because we were in the groove there and we knew how to produce content. But we were going to go on Fox Sports. We had made the decision from a infrastructure and business plan, and everybody was on board, and we have to go produce TV. you know, we're going to basically upgrade our facility. And there was a big, you know, the Nashville fans and the Orlando fans didn't like each other for a while because, you know, the Orlando fans won and Nashville lost because there was a period of about 3 months where we were doing both, Wednesday night pay-per-view and fly to Orlando and do the Orlando tapings. So there was a time frame there where we were doing both. But no, when we got to Orlando and did the studios, it was difficult on the one hand. On the other hand, you know, you go to Soundstage 21, right there in the middle of, you know, the world's largest tourist attraction. That's Orlando, Florida. It was a very, very shrewd business move that it opened the door. When we went into Spike and we're talking about our content and where we're filmed out, it carries a lot of weight. Where's your studio? Orlando Universal. So that it definitely opened doors for us.
And now you're going to be, you know, part of the NWA 70th anniversary on FITE, going back to the Asylum. How did that come about, and I guess how are you feeling about it?
You know, with my partnership with FITE, we're looking for, we'll call it tentpole events, big wrestling events and we're the network. We have the technology, and that's the one thing when I tell people in business meetings now, FITE is a technology first organization, company. The patents they have, the encryption, all that tech stuff that me or you know nothing about. But that's what they are first. And so when I started from the wrestling side, look at events. You know, StarCast literally fell out of the sky, and like, hey, yeah, let's just do it. But NWA is the first event that I approached them, which they had something in their mind coming up with the 70th anniversary. They had an idea in their head. I had an idea in my head, and literally when we came, it immediately like, yeah, let's do the 70th anniversary show. And then coupled with the entire situation with Nick and, you know, our relationship and Cody Rhodes and the title and the national title is going to be, it's all sort of falling in place. It's going to be a big night.